your horror movie podcast.
Welcome back, Hack This week is a first among firsts for the both of us and Mr. Matt. We've never done an interview, so if I stumble over my words, feel free to laugh at me. It's your boy Hacky. This guy up here, his name is
Just Justin here. What is up, everyone? And the movie we're talking about today is going to be Mr. Sandman. We're also going to be talking about a horror short called #The Challenge, but we're not going to do our normal thing where we walk through the movies. We're actually here with the writer, with the director, the man himself, Matthew Smith. Matt, how you doing tonight?
I'm great, guys. How you doing?
Doing good.
Doing all right. Not too bad. I honest to God, I can't wait to kick this off. I feel like it's the first day of school. I've got butterflies, man. I've never interviewed anyone or asked any kind of questions. I've always been interviewed myself, and I'm talking about jobs. So this is pretty exciting for me. Let's dive right into this, man.
Yeah, put me through the ringer. I'm ready.
Right.
So we're talking about Mr. Sandman, and a lot of people know just that word is equated with sleep. What made you want to kind of go into a movie like this and then tell it through the eyes of Zoe instead of just everyone else?
Well, I think you actually somewhat nailed it with your statement, because you said everybody knows. And that was kind of the key. I wanted to make a movie where everybody knew or could relate to it. So I know that, like, you know, no matter what gender you are, no matter what culture you come from, country, it doesn't matter. We either a child is going to watch this, or you were a child at one point. So I knew, if nothing else, I had a very relatable topic of nightmares, fear of the dark. And I'm like, okay, you know, like, I know everybody has that fear where they see a shadow and they're not sure if something's there, or they hear a noise and they're not sure if they, you know, it's actually there. So I said, well, being that it's a movie, let me put an actual legitimate threat in those things. So it really came from, I really wanted to make a movie that it was still up to me to do it effectively, but something that everybody could relate to. And I figured the fear of the dark, nighttime kids, it was just an instant relatable topic.
I want to say you hit that right on the head, dude, because I'm 35, Justin's 40, and that struck a nerve with both of us.
I felt like
scared of the dark.
Yes,
but as I was watching this, my 5-year-old son Roman was actually down the hall, and I kid you not, it almost lined up perfect with Zoe. He shut off the hallway light, and we've got about 30 feet from his bedroom to the living room, and he sprinted like no one else. He just did not want to deal with the dark on the way out.
Dude, 100%. Yes.
I'm glad I did my job. I'm glad it landed on you guys.
Was that a big fear of yours too? Like as a kid too, were you terrified of the dark?
Oh, 110%. I was, there were a couple things. I was a sleepwalker.
Oh.
So that gave me plenty of nightmares in itself. I used to wake up. I actually grew up in a 2-bedroom apartment, and I would wake up all the way at the front door of the apartment, and I'd wake up when I was like, I'm going to guess about 3 to 5 range. And, you know, I'd wake up and realize that I was away from the safety of my bed, and I would just start screaming, and my mom would come out like. But the funny thing is I'll tell you, if you had put me on the stand as a 5-year-old and I had to swear under oath, I swore I saw something coming at me when I was stuck in that hallway all the way at the front door.
Oh,
so I was there. I've been there.
Yep.
And not only that, but I was so desensitized as a kid, movies and everything, that I just had a very vivid imagination. So I would see shadows, I'd hear noises, the whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
So when I was younger, I had an older cousin tell me a story about what he called the Shadow Man. And this thing would only come to life in the darkest of shadows. There couldn't be any light around it. And it would only come to life if you weren't looking directly at it, but like you could see it out of the corner of your eyes, like your peripherals. And when he told me that, it scared the absolute crap out of me. So I was wondering, where Zoe's grandmother kind of gives her the story of the Sandman, did you have anything like that influence you as a child? Like, did anyone kind of give you a Sandman related story when you were younger?
Um, I can't say I remember one person in particular, but I do remember just general like childhood stories of not so much Sandman, but well, no, I should say Sandman too, because like that's what was told to us as children when we wake up with the crust in our eyes. It's like, oh, that was the Sandman coming sprinkling sand on you, so you dream. I mean, the boogeyman obviously was told to me. But going back to the whole uh, being desensitized, I coincidentally, it was my older cousin and my older brother who sat me down, and I'm gonna show my age here, and made me watch every frame of the original 1980 broadcast of the original Halloween. Jesus. So they screwed me up right from a very young age. So just the fear of something coming to get me just always stuck with me. So it wasn't necessarily one story, but a whole plethora of stories that are told to kids. Get to bed, or Santa won't come. Yeah. Get to bed, or the Easter Bunny won't leave you a basket. Just again, it's just I just thought it was so relatable that I was like, here it is. It's like gift wrap for me. I'm like, let me just use this tool that I have and hopefully make a good film out of it.
Yeah, I will say there was times like when I was watching like Zoe have like the nightmares and all stuff. I mean I felt like a kid again because I was so scared of the dark. I was scared of my closet. Like you said, like the last person being awake, I was scared of like, oh my God, like my parents are gonna go to sleep soon. I gotta hurry up and try to get to sleep before them. And it's just like I literally was having like flashbacks of like looking on like, wait, is that like what is that shadow? Is that just like a shirt? Is that gonna turn into something? Like it just I felt that like again, I was like literally getting scared. I was having flashbacks.
That's great. I'm glad.
So yes, you definitely did your job. So that's definitely a compliment.
Good, thank you.
Absolutely. And then one of the things I wanted to ask you about was I'm a big fan when a movie makes the score a character in itself. And right up until me and Justin and Waterboy had started this podcast, I used to just watch movies to watch them. And recently I've started to kind of set the tone. So when I sat down to watch Mr. Sandman, I isolated myself. I shut off all the lights. I closed the bedroom door. I kind of gave myself like perfect quiet. And when I was watching this, your score in this movie got my heart to start beating. And the way you worked in the sounds of Mr. Sandman through the score as well, I thought was beautifully done. I was just looking to see what kind of inspiration you took to use what you used.
I am in total agreement with you that scores can make or break the movie. I grew up and absolutely love John Williams. I'm a big Alan Silvestri fan, Danny Elfman. Like what a score can bring to a film and the mood it can set. John Carpenter's use of just piano in the original Halloween just set a great tone. What John Williams did with the original Jaws, using the score when the shark was broken, especially to fill in for that. I'll tell you, you go anywhere in the world and you're near a body of water and you just play those two notes that everybody's gonna look around.
Oh yeah, iconic.
So what a score can do, and on a lighter note, I'm a huge Rocky fan. So that score, I don't care who you are. You could be the most out of shape person in the world. You hear those first few intro notes, you want to go for a run.
I'm ready to run. Let's go. Yeah, you're ready to run through a wall.
Exactly. So what a score can do is just amazing to me. I'm such a big fan of movie music. I mean, I didn't develop the score. It was taken from like sound packages that I purchased and what have you. So I can't take credit for any of the music. And a lot of public domain music. For instance, in I think it was the opening sequence, I used the Dance Macabre, which obviously was a very famous score, and I wanted to link it up with the old timey movie that Zoe was watching in the beginning, which is actually called The Astronomer's Dream. And it just I wanted to keep everything either like subtle or dream related, because just like you said, Sean, when you were setting up yourself to watch it in a quiet space, I wanted it to almost be more sound effect driven than flat out score driven. But the beauty of that is the sound effects become the score. One of my favorite horror movies of all time does not have a direct score. They actually use sound effects, but you'll never know it if you watch the movie. It's actually Exorcist 3. It's all organic sounds throughout the whole thing, and you feel like you've heard a score. But in reality, all you did was hear a lot of organic sounds, and I used a lot of sound effects from sound packages and some music here and there, just to accent it. But it I wanted to make it as organic sounding as possible, because that's what we hear. We're in the quiet, we're in the dark. So it's like, but obviously I would use it sometimes to build tension or stuff, but they were actually more sounds than it was music.
It's pretty impressive.
Yeah,
Hats off to you, man.
I was gonna say it was very unsettling.
It got me
Very
going.
unsettling, I'd say. And I just say, I think this leads perfect to the next question. You mentioned like The Exorcist 3 and stuff. I was just gonna say, well, like, what are some of your favorite horror movies, or maybe some of the like early horror movies that you just like fell in love with, that even just like you decided to love in this genre?
Well, Exorcist 3, I personally feel is the most underrated horror movie I've ever seen. I can't believe. Unfortunately, I think it got bogged down by Exorcist 2. And once people saw Exorcist 2, they checked out. And by the time Exorcist 3 came out, I was like, this is one of the most brilliant, scary films I've ever seen. And certain scenes are even scarier than the original. And I would still argue to this day that Exorcist 3 has the best jump scare in any movie ever that I've ever seen.
In the hallway, yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Oh my God. I have to rewatch it. I saw that a long time ago, but that scene still, like, I remember that scene.
That scene in particular resonates with me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would rewatch it. Treat yourself.
I was gonna say,
It's been a while.
My favorites aren't going to be anything surprising. They're probably most people's favorites. Jaws is probably my favorite movie ever.
Okay.
And I don't care what anybody says. I know some people like to argue that it's a bit of more of a summer blockbuster than a horror, but I say no. I say that is as Hitchcock inspired a film as I've ever seen without being Hitchcock. Obviously, the original Exorcist is probably my favorite pure horror film. The Shining, Halloween, and I never like to leave out my absolute favorite vampire movie, and that's the original Fright Night, 1985.
Yeah. Oh, I love that one too. Yes.
All elite picks.
Oh yeah.
Now you mentioned The Shining. We didn't have this written down or anything, but you had mentioned The Shining. How do you feel about Doctor Sleep as a follow-up?
I was pleasantly surprised. I really was. I saw it in the theater originally, and I liked it. And then when I got it on Blu-ray, I watched it again with my daughter, Zoe.
Yep.
actually Haley Kate. And I watched it again with her, and I was like, wow, I like it even more the second time. So I like when a movie grows on me like that.
Yeah.
And I was a fan of Dr. Sleep, but I don't know if you guys picked up on it or not. I definitely was influenced with some of the shots by The Shining. And I tried to incorporate that because I'm a huge Stanley Kubrick fan, and his use of the camera, especially those slow dolly ins, those were definitely inspired by The Shining.
To get us back on track, though, I've heard you mention The Exorcist a few times. Did that have any influence on making the mom like all white and creepy?
Actually, that influence came more from Evil Dead.
I was just, dude, when you said that, I just thought, I'm like, I'm like, oh my God, Evil Dead.
Yep.
Sorry, I just thought of that right before you said that, and I'm like, holy God.
And then when she gets onto the bed, I think this was a very effective jump scare for anyone watching, but the sound you use, I'm gonna read you verbatim. My fiance texted me. She was in another room on the other end of the house, and she was doing homework. So the whole house was quiet. And she goes, that giggly, scary female shit
Oh,
just made me jump. So very well done.
yeah, it gave me
I
chills
give
that scene.
I give credit to the actress who played Mom, Mackenzie Newberry. She did a phenomenal giggle, and we recorded it and enhanced it a little and put it right
Yep,
over her visuals.
that's so cool. Yeah, she definitely looked very, very creepy.
And then I want to touch possibly spoiler territory. So if anyone's watching this, tune out right now. Go check out Mr. Sandman, because right now I'm about to spoil the end of the movie.
Oof.
But Zoe running into her parents' bed is every child's safe haven. You could have easily ended this story right there. What made you want to go the direction of letting the Sandman win in the end?
I'll tell you one thing. What you just said about every child's safe haven. I cannot wait until my producer watches this, because that was a major debate.
Oh shit.
He's like, no way she would go through that and then just feel safe running into her parents' bed. I said, absolutely not. I said, every child feels safe, especially when they get in between,
right in the middle,
between, right there,
and they're covered on both sides. So thank you. I am going to so rub that in his face with great joy.
Oh shit.
I can back up that statement. When I was a child, one of the things that got me hooked into horror wasn't like watching Freddy. My brothers tortured me with Freddy and all that stuff, but I was over my dad's friend Joe's house. They were building a deck out back, and he let me watch Dawn of the Dead.
Okay.
On VHS, boob tube TV, the whole 9 yards. And this movie scared me so bad that I slept with a bathroom light on and tried to sleep with my bedroom light on for close to a year and a half. And it got to the point every night that my dad would start locking the bedroom door, because I would come in the middle of the night and I would nestle right in between him and my mom, and it would drive him up a wall, because like I said, this is the 90s and they had a waterbed.
Yeah. Oh my god, the waterbed too. That's so funny. Oh,
that's hilarious. No, I was gonna say, just to finish answering his question, was as far as Sandman winning in the end, we just felt we needed, originally it was gonna end with her kind of nestled between. It was a little more of a happy ending. But and now here's where I'll give my producer credit. He felt it needed more of a punchy ending. So I was like, okay, and he came up with an idea that I wasn't really fond of, but I said, okay, I could take some bits of those ideas and work it in. And that's why I was able to use that technique, which has been used a lot in movies. The end is the beginning, the beginning's the end.
Yeah.
And I agreed with them. I relented. This is where he won a debate, where I said, you're right, it needs more punch at the end. So the unhappy ending, if you will, was due to just me feeling it needed that punch.
Definitely. No, that's awesome. And one of the things I was just thinking, I want to see if you agree with me too, is what makes like the nightmare movies and movies like this that go with like the dream worlds and stuff. I feel like they're extra scary because, like you said, like if you're scared of something, you want to go to sleep. Like when you're asleep, you're supposed to be away from it. But like I remember for me, Nightmare on Elm Street, when I watched Freddy when I was a kid, that like changed my whole entire life, because I couldn't sleep from like years after that, because like I didn't want to go to sleep. Usually you're safe if you go to sleep, but I'm like, I don't want to go to sleep because I'm not safe at all. Like that's when I'm gonna die. So like that's like all my sleepless nights, I'm gonna be terrified. And that's kind of like a movie like this too. It's like the same thing. It's like you're supposed to go to sleep, but if you're getting haunted by Mr. Sandman and stuff, I think that's what really makes those kind of movies like so creepy. Is like you said, you're supposed to be safe in bed, or when you go to sleep, like that's when like you escape the scariness. But then when you have like Mr. Sandman or Freddy, I just feel like that really like makes it like the dream kind of movies like this very, very like unsettling and scary.
Yeah, and you know what's funny? I feel like dreams are underexplored in movies. I don't feel like they are used enough, and I think it's such a fascinating topic that I'm surprised. There's
Definitely.
only like a handful of memorable dream movies. I mean, obviously you have the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise.
Yeah.
You have Inception from Christopher Nolan.
Mhm.
You have kind of I remember, I haven't seen it in a long time, but I remember enjoying it a lot. There was a movie called What Dreams May Come, and it was with Robin Williams, and that kind of captured some of the dream state. And I would like to see more movies explore the dream world, because and it doesn't necessarily have to be horror. I just think it's a fascinating plane where really it's one of those planes where anything can happen, and yet it still exists in reality. It's our subconscious that's creating this. I mean, it's amazing how powerful the human brain is, that it can create this whole world every night when you go to sleep, and you fully believe you're in the world while you're dreaming. It's fascinating to me.
And it's relatable to everyone. Like you said, it is especially it's something that every single person can relate to in some way or another. So I definitely agree with you on that 100%.
Me, everything else that I have left for questions isn't Sandman related. So if you guys want to, I'd love to dive into another short that you released, and I think both me and Justin were pretty much impressed with.
Well,
Yeah,
I've
Sean,
said this.
I actually would like to ask you both a question.
Oh, absolutely.
What was each of your favorite parts of Sandman? Like, so one scene or one
My
moment that jumped
my
out.
favorite scene that stood out the most to me is when you had Zoe in the bathroom and she was having that back and forth through the mirror. I love the way you shot that. And she just kept saying, what was it? It's not over, or I'm not done.
That was
Right.
creepy.
That stuck in my head.
So the mirror sequence for you was okay.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm glad. Yeah, but we stay on this for just a couple more minutes, because I did write two scenes down, and I wrote one was when she first went to bed and how she's like looking around the room. She sees the shadow, and she sees, like, I don't know, it was some kind of shadow or something in it, and it grows into Sandman, and that reminded me so much of when I was a kid. But I also wrote, like, I think there was a part where she like tried to scream out for her mom, but she was like muted, like she couldn't like scream. Because I also feel like that's super relatable. I remember to this day, I'm freaking 42 years old. I can remember being a little kid when I had a nightmare and I was trying to like call out for my dad. And I just remember like being like something, I was seeing something terrible happen. And I remember like I couldn't, like, so that literally, like, that reminded me of a dream that I haven't thought of for so many years. And I was like, oh my God. So I actually wrote that down. I'm like, I have to tell him about that. So I'm glad we stayed on this for another minute or two.
Yeah,
Is
I'm glad too, because I'm always fascinated to hear, because I like when, so many different people watch things and everybody's going to like bring their own experiences to it and have a different take. So I'm always fascinated to hear that.
Now, outside of a scene, there was one action that stood out to me. Um, I sleep when I sleep hot. So I've always got extremities outside of the blankets, a leg outside of the blanket. When I was a kid, anytime I'd have a nightmare or I got scared, and Zoe did this perfect, is her feet were outside of the blanket.
Oh yeah.
In that scene that Justin was talking about, she pulled her feet back under the blanket. And I was like, that is something every child out there has done. They have gone right under the blanket like it's like a cloaking shield. Like nothing can get me as long as I'm under this blanket.
Yeah, there's something, an unsafe feeling when your feet are exposed as a child, or, like anything, like you have to be cocooned to feel safe. So I'm glad you picked up on that.
Awesome. Hey, Sean, before we move on, I just have two super fast questions. One was just, how many nights how long did this take to actually film this?
Ooh, wow. Okay. Well, I know we're about to jump to found footage, so I will make this comparison. Found footage is something where you can let the camera run for about 5 minutes and probably get 5 minutes of usable material. With cinematic style, which this was my first, if you watch any movie within 60 seconds, you're going to get about a dozen cuts. Now, imagine having to set up angle, lighting, you name it, for actor positioning for each of those cuts, and then taking multiple takes to get it right. So in this 36-minute film, there's about 250 cuts, give or take. So between we started shooting it, COVID was still a thing.
Okay.
and it took, because of scheduling. I work full time. Obviously, my daughter's a full time student. I'm using my own house, so I'm have to doing it when everybody's allowing me to do it. Haley slash Zoe breaking her arm in an unrelated trampoline accident. Set us back another 6 months. It took about 3 years. It took about 3 years to finish.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Wow. Oh, wow.
That's a lot of
crazy.
work.
Yeah.
That's
a lot of dedication too.
It was, and I love it, but man, am I glad this one's behind me.
That's crazy. And then just the very last question, and then we'll move on. The last thing is just how cool was that just for you, just like being a dad, to have like your actual daughter like be in like the genre that you love, like and never mind, it's your freaking movie. Like that must be so cool.
Yeah, I'm glad that she's a huge fan of the genre too.
Okay, cool.
So that was a bonus. I was confident because I did make a found footage film. It was my first one a few years ago, 2018, called Happy Birthday Hannah. And I made a lot of rookie mistakes. I'll just come out and say it now. Yeah. But she was able to do things in it that I was like, okay, I'm like, I have confidence that she'll be able to pull off what I need to. And she's done subsequent school plays and what have you. So I knew if nothing else, I could get what I needed out of her, which was a lot of facial expressions, a lot of visual cues, more than just dialogue, just really just, like I knew she would do what I needed her to do. Plus she's an extremely hard worker in almost everything that she does. She's a competitive swimmer. So I knew that if she wants to do something, she's going to put her heart into it. So it honestly was a great feeling. And I know she's proud of it too.
Awesome. Well, she should be, because every
really
movie
cool.
we've ever seen, especially where a child is the main character, a lot of times it can make or break the movie. And Zoe, she's got some talent. So
thank you. I will definitely pass that that compliment along to
her.
Crushed
it. Now we're gonna talk about hashtag the challenge. It's a short. You can find this on YouTube, and it's basically a found footage movie where we follow Delaney and Sarah. They go to an abandoned haunted hotel, and the challenge is basically to get to all 4 floors. And Sean, you got any questions about?
What inspired you to want to make a movie like this? Like when Justin had described this to me, he said it felt very like Hell House LLC minus the haunted attraction.
Okay,
where it was inside the hotel.
I can see that.
And then you said you're a fan of The Shining. Did you take any influence from that?
Well, I knew that again, I kind of like it. Well, it was something that came to me because I was like, okay, there's all these, at the time, internet challenges were a very big thing. That was actually filmed back in 2019.
Okay.
And internet challenges were a very big thing. So I was like, okay, I'm like, obviously these challenges in real life, some of them are dangerous, and I'm like, okay, but I'm not trying to send a public service announcement here. What can I do within the horror genre that would be like an internet challenge that would, end in a bad way? So I thought of that. I'm like, okay, what would be like, it'd be great to have them in an abandoned hotel. Now, I happen to be friends with the owner of that hotel, which is above a pub. It's called the Irish Pub.
Okay.
And during the winter, they don't rent out. They're only active during the summer. So I went upstairs and I looked at this and I was like, wow, this is like a mini Shining. This set, I'm like, this is unreal how beautiful this is and how old timey this is. I'm like, this, and they had like the nice long hallways and the old timey carpet and wallpaper. I'm like, this looks a lot like The Shining. I'm like, wow, I've got to use this. I mean, the set alone or the location alone in this case was the star. So I was like, there's no way I can't not use this. So those were the two inspirations for the basis of the story.
Absolutely, dude. And when you said like the wallpaper, the old timey stuff around there, like the trinkets, the lamps, it's not very Motel 8 esque or Holiday Inn. Nothing matches.
Right.
Like even the couch in the doorway. You know what I mean? I love that old timey stuff, and
Yeah.
I thought you guys did great in that one. And Justin can attest to this. I have a pure hatred for found footage.
Yeah, he's not a big
And
fan.
outside of two movies that he's made me watch, I did thoroughly enjoy this short. And I think that says a lot to building an atmosphere through your camera work and these two girls and the cut scenes and the demo I want to say maybe like a Satanist, the kid dressed in red.
Okay. I mean, it was basically, it was like supposed to be just like another phantom in the inside the hotel, but yeah.
They wrote me in, and I found myself trying to look around the corners with the girls through the camera. And at this point in time, I'm watching this on my phone in a well-lit living room with a 5-year-old and a 9-year-old building Legos with Star Wars on full blast in the background. So for you to rope me in like that,
Yeah.
hats off, man. You did excellent on that one as well.
With all those distractions, we still got you. I'm glad.
Yeah, and Sean, I'm pumped you watched it because, like I said, we were mostly focused on Mr. Sandman, but I kept telling him, like, dude, you got to check this other one out. I even told him at work today because we work at the post office. I told him, like, dude, if you watch the challenge, like, I want to at least ask him. I don't have much questions because I didn't know if Sean was actually going to watch it, but I'm glad he did watch it. And I will say this was cool because same thing. I kind of I started watching it, not paying attention too much. I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna put it on as I work out, and I must say, like, the last 15 minutes of this gets so creepy. Like, as soon as those girls separate, it really, like, and I actually stopped my workout. Like, I was like, oh, I'm just gonna have this in the background. But then I got really creeped out. Like, the last 15 minutes, I'm like, you know what? I'll just work out after. And I was like really, really hooked. And it really got really creepy. Like, as soon as those two girls get separated and you see one almost like, I don't know, she like bent backwards, like out of the door and had like a creepy voice.
I was
like,
just gonna say, at that exact point, I was fully invested.
Same. I think at that part, I'm like, I gotta focus on this shit right now. And I was like all by myself in the house, and it was like 2 days ago when it's like really windy out. So I must have I was a little I got a little creeped out.
That's awesome. I'm so glad. Yeah. I'll tell you a little fun fact about that movie. There's a scene in the beginning where she comes across a painting that looks almost identical to her.
Yeah.
Complete accident.
What?
Oh, really?
We showed up to film. I didn't have it mapped out. I didn't have it written. And it was there. And I was like, wow. I'm like, well, we're taking advantage of this. That's for sure.
I honest to God, dead ass, I thought maybe you took her picture and sent it to like Shutterfly and was like, make a portrait.
Yeah.
Because it is uncanny how much she looked like that painting.
Oh, man.
Great.
If I was that girl, I would have been out. I'd be like, oh, hell no, this is too creepy. I'm freaked out. I would have been like, nope. If I see that, if I go to a place and I see an old painting of myself that looks like that, I'm like, I'm out. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, that was an interesting little fun fact that just always stands out in my head when I think back to it. It was just like, it was really funny. I mean, we were definitely laughing more than creeped out at the time.
And I guess like I said, I wasn't even sure if we were going to cover this, so I only wrote like 1 or 2 questions. Is there any chance you'd ever even like maybe revisit this as a sequel, or maybe even like turn this into like a longer movie or anything, or you just just one and done?
It's been asked multiple times. You're definitely not the first person to ask about it. And the idea has been floated. 2 things though. My friend who let me use the hotel, that was extremely generous of her. I don't like to try to, even though it's a friend and I'm sure she would let me do it again in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
I try not to take advantage of friendships and generosity like that. Because we really did take over the whole hotel at the time. But also number 2, I have a lot of other ideas in my head that I really would like to explore without just dipping into the well too many times. So there's other projects I would love to tackle. I have to figure out logistically how to pull them off, but so yes, it has been discussed and it's definitely been asked. As of right now, there's no immediate plans to go back to that. And not only that, when you make something that most people seem to like,
Yeah.
I almost get a little scared about, like, okay, if I revisit it, am I going to let people down now? And I guess that's the trappings of sequels and why it's very hard to make a good sequel to things.
Definitely.
Completely agree.
Yeah.
I like how you brought up that you don't want to go back to the well too many times, and you do have future plans.
That was my next question.
If you were given like a big budget,
Ugh.
what kind of storyline would you like to attack? Would you like to do found footage, or would you like to do just
found footage? Was a great tool for me, and it was what was within my capabilities, especially in the beginning. So I don't have a bad thing to say about found footage. And I gotta say, it's extremely challenging to capture certain creepiness and certain emotion when you don't have control over the camera angles. You sometimes have to just like let the camera run, and yet you're trying to evoke emotions. This is where cinematic has an advantage, because it's like you can zoom in on the eyes, or you can get a close-up of a shadow, or whatever the case may be. So but if I'll tell you, well, first of all, if I had an unlimited budget, I'd be like, all right, I got a Superman script ready to go.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
And a Batman script ready to go. But
let's go.
If I'll tell you, if I had a budget, my heart is still in cinematic, because I love certain camera angles. I love visuals. I love that whole thing. And found footage, you really can't add music to it. I know people have, and I feel it's almost like kind of cheating. I'm like, well, you're taking away from the rawness of it. So music is another thing. Like I explained earlier, I love so much adding to film that I would love to have that at my disposal, and cinematic really offers that. But I'll tell you, the biggest advantage of a big budget in my eyes would be have a crew. So I don't have to do the lighting and the sound and the editing and the, color coding and all that stuff. So yes, I would love to have a crew. But my producer is a great guy, and he's my right-hand man, and he does so much. So I can't take that away from him. But we really are like a two-man show, and it's hard. It's challenging. So,
beautiful. I like how you said you wanted to stay cinematic because you like to incorporate music. I just want to put this out there. With hashtag the challenge, you did a beautiful way of incorporating music by zooming in towards the end on that record player.
Yeah.
Oh, that was creepy.
I love old-timey music in a horror movie. It just it touches my soul. It warms me to the core.
That was cool.
Yeah, that was a way to kind of get music in by have it actually playing at the scene of what was going on. And again, still another shining inspiration, because I like that old-timey song. I think it's just called Midnight. At the end of The Shining, the end credits, was kind of an inspiration. I'm like, okay, this is an old-timey hotel. I want that old-timey song as Delaney is coming towards Sarah.
And even working in more old-timey stuff, with Mr. Sandman, I believe it's Swan Lake through that music box.
Oh, yes. Yes, it is. Correct.
That gave me the chills as well. That made the hair on the back of my neck stand up.
Wow, you're actually the first person to point out the Swan Lake reference.
That's awesome. Then
my girlfriend thought it was the jingle for I think Skype. She was like, "Are they Skyping in the movie?" And I was like, "No." So she did drive me a little nuts, and I wound up looking it up and like reverse searching it with the music. So.
Okay.
There we go. Do our research.
Yeah, music boxes are inherently scary, so it's like a perfect tool
especially the ballerina, man.
So creepy. That damn thing twirling around. Oh. And then I guess I don't know, Sean. I just got one last question since we're talking about your future stuff. Is there anything you said just like are you working on anything right now, or is there like a next project that you can even talk about, or you just like got so many different ideas haven't really zeroed in on anything yet?
I have two ideas. I've been so concentrating on promoting this.
Gotcha.
And I got to be honest, this took a lot out of me energy wise.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of just enjoying the fruits of my labor now as opposed to diving right back in. So there's two possible projects. And actually I should say three. But it's all going to depend on if I'm at the point now where it's like, if I can't do it correctly, I don't want to do it. So if I can only get a certain amount of funding or something, and I don't feel it would serve the project, then I won't want to do it. So I want to do stuff within my capabilities, because at least I know within my capabilities, then I'm the only one who can mess it up, not outside factors. So again, general concepts, but nothing concrete as of now.
Gotcha.
And then I've only got two questions left, and they're just kind of fun for you. You're stranded on a desert island. You can grab 3 physical movies. Which 3 are you grabbing?
Okay. I am grabbing Jaws, The Empire Strikes Back.
Yes. Let's go.
There you go, Sean.
And 1978 Superman original.
Beautiful.
Hell yeah.
No disagreements there. And then my final question is, dead or alive, if there is any dream writer, producer, director, actor across the board, and you could only pick one, who would you want to work with?
Oh, see, I was going to cheat and go with each category. But like, well, director.
Oh, you could do that too.
Yeah, do that too. Yeah, go with that.
Okay. I would love to work with Gary Oldman. I think he is easily the best actor I've ever seen on screen. And how I judge an actor is someone who can go from one role to the complete opposite type of role and make you believe. I believe everything that guy does. He knocks my socks off. He's absolutely unreal. I'll tell you what I would have loved to work with. Unfortunately, he is passed as a director. If I could write for him, would be Dick Donner. You're talking about a guy, again, same type of criteria for me. Someone who's done all these different genres and knocked each one of them out of the park. So it's like, well, let's start with The Omen. Fantastic horror movie. Jumps from The Omen to Superman. Still a movie that every superhero movie still tries to model themselves after.
Yep.
Jumps from that to The Goonies, one of the most iconic 80s movies of all time, and then jumps to action with the Lethal Weapon series. I mean,
they're all massive hits.
I didn't even realize he did all that. Wow.
He is a master of like every genre. It is just amazing to him. And I mean, that is just the sign of just a director that I feel definitely doesn't get enough credit, not enough recognition. But man, when you can do all that and be good at all of it, I mean, what else is there to say?
Oh, amen.
Absolutely, dude. That was quite the connection.
Yes.
I had no idea he spanned across all of that.
I didn't know he did all that either. That's crazy.
Yeah, he in his again, every director has their prime. So not every movie is going to be, knocked out of the park, but that span from the late 70s to, the early 90s, I mean, he was just unreal.
That's crazy.
He was unreal. So those are my two. And I would have John Williams score the movie, whatever it is.
Perfect. Wrap it all up. There we go.
Absolute all-stars.
Love it so much.
All right, man. It's been a pleasure, and I mean, I don't want to keep taking up your time, but I could talk to you all night.
No, I love talking film. And I have a tendency to over explain. So I'm glad I tried to keep it within reason with you guys.
Yeah, no, this went good. No, I appreciate, like I said, time's the most valuable thing anyone has to offer. So I seriously just appreciate this a ton. So
No, thank you guys. Thank you. It was so much fun. I appreciate you guys wanting to talk to me.
yeah, no
I'm
problem.
thoroughly excited to see what you got going on in the future, man. Because
Uh.
someone to wear every hat under the sun to get this
Yeah.
stuff done, I can't say it enough. You've done an amazing job.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and if you ever do a movie that you're like, oh my God, I need to kill 2 more random people. I wish they were like horror podcast guys that could come down and just get killed real fast in one like scene or whatever. Keep us in mind. We'll gladly go down there, kill us real fast, and then we'll move on. It'll be all good. So,
Well, that'll be music to my producer's ears because his big complaint about Sandman. He's like, "Where's the kills?"
yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. If you ever need a more body count, just hit up #/ call us out. We'll be there. Just kill us, whatever, and we're all good.
You
You gotta
got it.
tell him though, man. Less is more, and
Yeah.
the less kills, and even like the less showing of Sandman's face,
Yeah.
all beautifully done.
All worked out
Oh,
good.
he's gonna be furious. I love it. He's gonna be furious.
But all right, well, that about wraps it up. I'm Hacky. This guy right here is just Justin.
Just Justin.
And thank you so much, Matt, for joining
Thank
us.
you guys. Honor and a pleasure.
Awesome.
Till then, we'll see you next time, #/ and go check out Mr. Sandman
Yes.
and #the challenge.
Go watch them all.